So we got a new project in the shop. I'm going to be doing a lot of YouTube coverage on it. This is a 81 Nissan Datsun 280zx owned by Cooper here. We're currently cutting the front end off, the rear end off, the floor pan out, and we're basically going to make it like the 911, which is right over there. Still working on that, trying to work on that in between, you know, whenever I got time. But, you know, help your Cooper out because he always helps me out with stuff. So we're going to make some progress on this, and let's get the front end lobbed off. Now, I know 280ZXs don't have following like 240Zs and stuff like that, but before anybody gets mad, I just want you to know that this is like the rustiest car that I have ever worked on.
Show them the pile of dirt.
Much rustier than my Porsche was. This is one of the piles of dirt. This is the whole rear end section that we already had cut out. And this, we didn't even need to cut this. This was already like that. So yeah, this thing was a basket case. We're mostly only concerned about keeping the roof line, a bit of the quarter panels, quarter window, stuff like that, and most of the door. Rest of it's going to be tube chassis and big aero stuff.
Real. I didn't even get to see it.
No! Oh, why is the flash? So now we got the front end cut off, and now we're going to move on to the inside. We're just going to cut this floor section and the firewall out. We're going to leave this brace area just to help stiffen it up so we don't make it a, you know, total taco folded in half. We also have this bracing here still, so this is holding the back half, and we're going to leave the dash bar in here to hold that area. So hopefully this thing doesn't just crumble into pieces. We'll see. Now, Cooper just finished stripping out the full interior, so we're pretty much ready to go and finish the cut around the floor and turn this into a bare half shell of a Z. So we got the floor. At least 90% cut.
Wait, this is the last. Oh, this is the last of it.
The final cut.
The final cut.
Just stuck on the jack stands. Whoa!
We're three-wheeling. Three-wheeling.
What jack stand? Day 2 of working on the Formula 280ZX right here. We got the entire floor section cut out. And now with everything missing, we're going to be starting on the tube chassis that we're going to be doing. We're going to do a pretty simple floor structure here first. That's where we're going to start. Then we're going to move the motor over there. This one's just going to be used for mock-up. We're going to have a slightly cooler L28. There's no such thing as an actually cool L28. And then the engine itself is going to be sitting about right here. So it's going to be very protruding into the driver's area right there. So we're going to have to make a lot of changes. This is Cooper's car. Cooper is also 6 foot something. I don't know, really tall. So we're going to have to push him back and lean him back and get him to fit in here. The suspension is going to be like very Formula IndyCar, like old school double wishbone tubular setup. It's going to be pretty simple setup overall, but not like, you know, it's still going to be crazy. I'm trying to convince him to do a K24 like my RX-8 here, but he wants to do the L28, so that's probably what we're going to end up doing, but this would be way cooler anyways. But stay tuned for the tubes, and if you want to go watch the long format video, you know where to find that. Well, that was a good guess.
Wow. No, that was calculated. Cooper knew.
I'm so good. I just know 280zx so well.
Now with the car over here, we threw the front fenders on there. We also dragged the L28 over here, and we've just kind of been moving the car on and off of the engine to see where it's going to fit. But basically, the oil cap right there is going to be right there on the car. So we're going to start on the tube chassis part. We're going to do the floor section first, and then we're going to kind of go up and out from there, and then go forward for the suspension, back for the suspension, up and over the motor, all that stuff. And this is what we have right now for the floor section of the tube chassis. We're started off with these, which are going left, right. This is going front to back. These are going to, we're just making a very square lower section so that we have something perfectly square to build off of, using the fab table to get it all nice and square. These bars are going to be, they're going to be something like that. Not at all like that at all. But the engine is going to sit in this section here, and then it narrows to go back to the diff and the rear suspension area. And then we're going to have to just cut this later and get the engine, because Cooper didn't realize that with a mid-engine car, you have to drop the engine out the bottom. You're not going to be able to pull the engine, you know, like this. This one, I guess you can kind of pull out the back. But if it was mid-engine, you have to drop it out and pull it out, because you can't really, doesn't work like that. Now we're moving forward. We got these bars welded in place, and then we bent up this bar. Cooper got the bend a little bit off, so we just cut and re-welded it back together, which is no big deal because this is not like a safety piece. This is just the lower frame rail. So that's totally fine. And then we got some gussets there. This right here is going to get chopped out. So the motor will actually be sitting here. Driver will be sitting there. And then this is where the front suspension lower control arms are going to bolt to. So we're working on getting this all squared up and welded in place. Basically, off of here, we're going to build some pretty simple little tabs. And then our lower control arms are going to be like some custom tubular type guys. And yeah, we're winging it. Now with the rear bars in place, we got everything mocked up again on the vehicle, and it's all fitting very nicely, actually. I'm very, super hyped on it. So engine is going to sit there, which is ridiculous. We are going to next do a dash bar, which is going to come from right there. It's basically going to be something like this. It's going to bend outward just to give more clearance for the driver. And then it's going to go straight across over the top of the engine. We may clearance the valve cover later on if we have to, because the engine does have to come up just a little bit so we can clear there and stuff. But overall, it's fitting very nicely. After the dash bar, we're going to come forward with a bar that sort of matches this one and does a little loop around the engine. So it's going to be sort of the engine cage and finish off the, that stuff. Then I think from there, what we're going to do is come up and do the front suspension upper arms, which are going to be about a foot off of this and a little bit wider, so that the front upper control arms are shorter than the front lower control arms. That'll just help with camber gain and stuff like that. I will say we are not engineering any of this. It's kind of just, what we know roughly works, and winging it from there. So we've made a good amount of progress, just adding a bunch of tubes. It's just kind of repetitive. But we have the front suspension upper and lower bars. Those are both parallel, and the upper bars sit further out so we can have a shorter upper control arm. I'm a little bit out of breath. We just carried this from off of the table. But yeah, overall, me and Cooper both just picked this up and carried it over our heads.
Surprisingly light, honestly.
Yeah, super light, really cool. And then the rear is a very similar setup. We have a narrower upper from the lower. These are a little bit taller, more separated, but the knuckles are going to be about the same, and we're just going to mount the pivots, down here, there, and then these are going to be mounted probably, top and top. Yeah. We did that so that we could have clearance for the axles in the back. We're also going to have the differential back here, which is going to be, I think, Winter's quick change, or
yes.
Okay.
That's the plan, at least.
Yeah, so like a winter's quick change, but the small one, not the big one that they put in
Yeah,
high power drift cars. It's like a 8-inch.
It's just above 8. Yeah, it's a 400 horsepower difference, but it's between 600 and 1,000. So
Yeah, and this is very light, which is one thing that will break drivetrain parts is just vehicle weight. So we don't have to worry about that, and then it's not going to be making crazy horsepower, so it should be good. So we're going to get this over the motor, and then we're going to get the body over this. And this is roughly where the engine's going to be sitting in relation to the chassis. It's very close there, but I don't think it's touching, but we can clearance the valve cover just a little bit if needed, but we'll kind of see. Puts the transmission at a good height to go to the rear differential, and overall it fits really well. It gives him a good amount of room in the driver's area, and then we're going to be using the factory pedal box right there for the brake and clutch, and then we'll just figure out a gas pedal because that's pretty easy. And me and Cooper just lifted the body up over the frame, and it went on pretty easily. We do need to do a little bit more notching there, which was already expected, but we just wanted to see where it was going to be. And then we had a little bit of trouble getting past this like little lip edge that we left there. Wow, this this passenger side door bar is crazy. So there's going to be no passenger seat. I don't know if I've said that yet, but we put this bar up as high as possible just for the most safety and the most stiffness. You know, the more braced everything can be, the better. So we got it to this point, and now I just have to do a ton of welding, and then Cooper's going to be back in about 2 weeks, and we're going to make some more progress on this. He is going with a KA24DET instead of the L28 that's over there, so that's a good thing. And he's going to be back. He's going to bring a built motor that's going in this, and then we can work on getting that mounted, and he's also bringing the parts for the suspension. So we're going to be able to get it rolling, hopefully, in a couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that.